Hello and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. With the end of Photon Shockwave came the introduction of Order of the Chaos. These cards mainly supported characters such as Yuma, Tsukumo, but also there was very little support in the style of for Kite, not for Kite, for Shark. There were only two cards introduced. These are Octopus and Splash Capture. Octopus is a water fish level 4 with 1600 attack and 800 defense. Its effect is when this card is destroyed by battle with an opponent's monster and sent to the graveyard, you can equip this card to that opponent's monster. That monster's attack becomes 0. Also, it cannot change its battle position. So you could do a couple of things. You could either get this monster to attack your opponent, in which case you have more control of what monster's been attacked, reducing their stat line to 0 attack, so Shark could actually do more damage. This was a card seen in the anime, or your other option is to set this and pass your turn, in which case your opponent can attack into it, but the downside is that this equips basically to the monster who destroyed it. You don't have an option of what goes first, so it makes more sense to try and attack into your opponent if you think that they're not actually going to use their strongest monster first. This has had some interactions with the anime, and is actually a card that has been relied on a little bit. And the second card, being Splash Capture, is a normal trap card, with the effect when your opponent exceeds summons, banish 2 fish-type monsters from your graveyard to target that face-up exceeds monster, and take control of that target. This card is quite useful for what it can do. In the time of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeal, lots of people were exceed summoning, and so this would guarantee the effect to be used. It's even not too bad to use near the start of a duel, considering that Shark tended to go through some of his fish-type monsters quite easily, and so that meant actually having the components within the graveyard to use the effect. The slight concern with this card is that it does require just your fish-type monsters, and of course your opponent could summon an Xyz monster which is not too powerful, and then actually find a way of bringing out something a little bit stronger to overcome that card. Of course they can actually get rid of this card because it doesn't trigger until you actually Xyz summon, so it's not something that can be responded to with something like a Mystical Space Typhoon or Twin Twisters. These may only be 2 cards, but each affected the way Shark's deck worked. For starters, Octopus helped support the physical beta style he was moving over to by making their opponent's monster attack 0, enabling him to do as much battle damage as possible. With Splash Capture, more cards were introduced of the fish type to support this card. I believe this was based on the idea in the anime where Shark versus Kite, and steals his number 30 Acid Golem. Of course this strategy doesn't work, and it doesn't go down well in the anime, as Acid Golem kept inflicting damage to Shark, and he ended up losing the duel. This is partly because Kite was aware that Shark would try and steal his number, and tried to use the negative effects of that number to burn him for that level of damage. So the advantages of these cards are zeroing out an opponent's monster and being unable to change battle position lets you inflict more battle damage. It can be used to limit the threat of stronger monsters, and Splash Capture lets you steal an opponent's Xyz monster. As these have become more powerful, you can use the effects of monsters which your opponent has expended resources in order to generate. The disadvantages of this strategy is monsters can negate effects more easily now, or be used to link away, synchro or Xyz to remove the effect of Octopus, or remove it from the field with spell and trap removal effects. You even have cards like Xyz monsters like Tornado Dragon, who if you've got already on the field before this actually comes out, you can actually randomly hit that card, which is a bit of an irony in that. Monsters taken by Splash Capture can be destroyed by your opponent's effects, or be able to negate the activation of Splash Capture by cards such as Red Reboot and other variations, and it requires you to understand how your opponent's deck works. If they can exceed into something better with other cards, the effect is mute. Overall, these cards don't impact too heavily on what Shark is trying to do, other than to deviate away from the pure banishing it started off with. What do you think of Shark's original style? Was it something you've liked to have seen extended? Do you think these cards actually bring the deck any closer to the power-based style that he's attempting to go for? Whatever you think, leave your comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe.